Alright everybody, so this is the third, I think it's his third, research update. To start off, I want to talk about some things that are going to get changed. Like, I think I'm going to start doing these basically every 2 weeks. That way it's got some substance to it, and we'll do a first part like this, and then we'll do a second part for the audio. So I just want to throw that out there. So as far as what I've been doing these past few weeks, I've been going through and getting research papers. Now, obviously, I don't really have a whole lot of research papers on this. There are some that the Relic Hominoid inquiry put out. That involves Dr. Meldrum. Like, this is from his group. If you just look up Relic Hominoid inquiry on Google, it'll be like the first thing that comes up, and they have a research paper section. But what I've been doing instead is I've been going on places where you can actually download research papers for free, because a lot of times you have to pay for them. And I've been getting stuff on involving primates. So like I looked at this one, reactions to wild great apes and camera traps. And one of the main things I wanted to point out here is, if we come down here, it talks about them avoiding the area. There's a section here though where they say, like, for example, apes may avoid visiting or using areas monitored by cameras. Because this was looking at how they reacted. So, like, they looked at gorillas, chimps, a whole bunch of different types of groups around the area that they were concentrating on, which is the Luango National Park. So they were looking at like two different things, trying to remember the actual. It's basically, let me see, because I hadn't actually heard of these before, but I didn't do animal behavior stuff. Let's just do this. Phobic. So yeah, neophobic and neophilic. So neophobic was like when they don't like the device, so it's like a warning call, like they look mad at it or something. Whereas neophilic would be like if they walk over to it, they start like tapping it or trying to figure out like they're not afraid of it. So they were trying to see like if there's a difference in that, in areas where they're exposed to people, in areas where they're not. Which this all ties into Sasquatch stuff, because even we're primates. So this is interesting because you can look at this, then you can kind of compare this to stories that people said, and then you can back that up now with real research. This is why I keep telling people here lately, you got to get out of the Bigfoot bubble and go into the wildlife domain. You just have to. And look at research papers and see what people are doing, because this all ties together. Even if they would have intelligence like us, they're still primates, you know what I mean? And this is looking at how they react to their environment when they're around people all the time and when they're not. So it's kind of like a trust. It's also looking at the trust of humans, right? Because the ones that are around us a lot are going to react differently than the ones that aren't. Some other ones that I've been looking forward to reading, it's like, so this one, so pan troglodytes that's chimpanzees, but this is talking about their vocalizations, like how they use vowels, like the O's and Oo's and stuff like that. So I'm going to read that one next. There's stone throwing in chimpanzees. There's them hunting mammals, again in Luango National Park. There's just a whole bunch of them on here that I downloaded. And then this one I thought was interesting too. Nest decay rate for chimpanzees, because people are finding these nests and stuff. So if they're already looking at decay rates for chimps, because then you can figure out when do they use them, right? Like, because we don't really know anything about this. I know a lot of people like to anthropomorphize them, and say, well, they do this, they do that, but we don't know any of that. That's what frustrates me. You don't know that if you're saying it. Nobody knows, because we've never actually caught one alive to study, or actually been able to go and just find them and hang out with them, you know what I mean, like they can with gorillas and stuff. So nobody knows any of this stuff for this species. This is why this is all important. We can then infer from other research. So this is looking at the decay rate for those. So if they can actually find these nest sites, and then they can go at least figure out, do they decay? Do they not? Maybe then we can kind of like narrow it down and see if they're, because this is all stuff, like I said from the get-go, if it's real, and I'm not saying it's not, I'm just, if it's real, we'll be able to answer these questions like what does it eat, where does it live, what's the breeding season, what does it come in different colors, like is there different depending on habitat, are you going to get different colorizations for that? Does it change throughout the year? Like there's so many things that like we can go through then and look and like what its diet is, there's a lot that you can take from this side of it, from my side of it, and you can infer it onto this, and that's how you're going to get this to be legitimized. I mean, ultimately, we're going to have one. That's just how it is. I know that upsets people when I say that, but science will never accept this if they don't have either a body or a live one. That's just it. It sucks, but that's how it works. So until we get that, this is, in my opinion, the best we can do instead of going out and, smacking trees and screaming like an idiot, because I'm pretty sure that Sasquatch is going to know that it's not another Sasquatch screaming, that it's a person. They're going to be like, oh, look at this idiot. So that's where I'm at with this. So I'm going to change, speaking of audio stuff, which we're not going to really get into that in this video. The next part I put up will be all audio. But I am going to change this a little bit, so I've been putting it out for 4 days at a time because I was doing that bird survey. I've kind of just threw the bird survey to the back burner, and I'm just going to be concentrating now on these 3 locations, which later this year I'm hopefully going to get 2 more audio recorders. I just got to wait till I get the money to do that, and then hopefully we can start to try to triangulate things. But when I went up to actually change this on Friday, the reason this is cut out like this is this little spot like in the center where it looks like an island. That's an automatic deer feeder, and you can see it used to be here, but it's my mom's boyfriend that owns the property. Really all our property is this. So all this other property is somebody else, but we're allowed to go on it and use it, so that's how I'm able to do all this research. But there used to be a trail right here, and it runs up and it goes this way. Well, he opened that back up. He went back through this last week and basically opened it all up. So that's going to be another opportunity too, because then if I can get back up in here, where we've been looking and it kind of drops off and then comes back up, well, there's a trail that goes up there. So I'd like to get a 4th recorder possibly up in the woods properly, away from everything. So that would be interesting. Let's see what's next. Oh yeah, speaking of trees. So I recently found Bigfoot Tony, because like I said, I was out of this for a long time, like really like looking into the research side. What I find interesting is, if you remember, we found this tree. It's wedged right here and then up there. Well, Bigfoot Tony posted a picture. I'm doing tree structures now. We're going to have a video on this. But look what he found. It's bent and broke towards the end, just like ours is. It's wrapped around this tree, but then it's wedged up here, whereas ours is wedged both sides. But that looks an awful lot like this. And there's other things too that he had, and this is from the Pacific Northwest, obviously. But there's other things that we've seen. Like there was definitely stuff like this. It's not as prominent, like it's not as big, but we have seen when I've been walking through the woods, things bent over like that. We found like a bunch of stuff just propped like this. I haven't found any X's or stars yet, as they call them. But we have that one skyscraper thing. It doesn't make an X, but it's still a huge tree like that. This is really what I'm waiting to see if it happens. If we see things that start to get added to any of these. That's really what I've been watching for. These are all from him. So credit goes to him. Hopefully he's doing well wherever he's at, because I know he kind of disappeared. But then these are mine. And it's interesting that this was bent over to actually grow like that. And if you remember in the video, this kind of fans out. And like over in here on this side, like on the other side, it makes like a little blind. So you could totally just walk back. I could have fit in there and just sat there easily and watched the deer at that feeder and everything. Here's one of the ones that I found. You know, I mean, we've seen these, but... And there's the one that I was talking about, where it's just a huge tree that's been shoved. I mean, that's broken off. Because obviously that I mean, that's not a branch from this. First off, it's too big. And second off, where did it come from? Like, because I think I put out that video where when I walked over, I was even looking at this tree, there's nothing broke off. Like, this tree's not missing any limbs. This is just kind of like broken off and shoved here randomly. And it's kind of debarked to a degree. So I don't know, there's just weird things. Weird things back in those woods for sure. Something else I've been doing too is because I actually got invited by a group. They said, you know, any of these events that we're doing, if you want to tag along, we can get you in and let you do a presentation. So I'm kind of outlining it, so I don't have much in here. But mine's going to be relict hominoids, my search for answers. So, you know, I start off like, what is a hominoid? Because I don't know if I've actually talked about this on the channel either. So hominoids are a group that includes the fossil ancestors of humans. Humans. So in other words, our fossil ancestors, us, and anthropoid apes. So anthropoid apes are things that resemble us, like they can't have a tail and they have to walk upright. And then they have to, like, you know, resemble people like this, you know, 2 arms, 2 legs, etc. But those are going to be like orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos, and Homo sapiens, so modern humans. And then, you know, of course, we got some examples. But this is where I'm starting now. Like, how can they exist and survive? This absolutely blew my mind when I started looking into this aspect of it. This is from 2008. 125,000 gorillas were just found in the Congo. 125,000. Yes, you read that right. And you heard me right. 125,000. That more than doubled the world's population of gorillas. And it was all because of the habitat. So when people, you know, all say is, well, where would they hide? Well, there you go. I mean, people they live in that area too. Like, that's what's insane. People live there. They couldn't get into these areas, though, just like there is in the Pacific Northwest. And hell, look at those 1,000 acres that are by me. You've seen when I walk back there, it gets too thick to even get in there. So yes, there's plenty of habitat where these things can hide. And I'm sorry, if they can find 125,000 gorillas that they didn't even know existed, then sure as hell they can find something like a Sasquatch. I mean, that's just crazy. Let's see, next on the itinerary is, oh yeah, update on audio. As I said, like I've sent out all this audio and no one's ever gotten back to me. You know, there's a couple of these people, I'm not going to name any more names. I've emailed them 2 or 3 times and they've even told other people, oh yeah, I'll look into it, and they never contact me back. So I don't really know where to go from there other than to just just learn it myself. Just do what I'm doing now. Take all my stuff from like birding and everything else and just start building profiles for other animals. Then we can compare those audio recordings to what I get and then start rolling more stuff out since nobody else is interested apparently in helping. It's just frustrating. So, I mean, that's really where do we go next? So for the audio side, I'm going to break down those fake coyote calls. I'm going to do a comparison of the Sierra sounds to my stuff. And I'm just going to keep reviewing audio. So what I did too for this is all this old stuff is from before, like March and April when I first got the recorder. It's not very good. And it's from down here, so there's a lot of... it's too close to people, so I can't rule enough stuff out. Because yeah, it does sound like there's wood knocks and other stuff that I get at times. But I don't know that it is, because, you know, there's houses all over. Now, when we're getting stuff back here, that's a little easier to explain. Like, no, that's not a person because it's facing into the woods. And it's actually in the woods a little bit, too. Probably like, 10 yards or so. So this is just a better area to focus on. So I kind of threw that in the old folder, and then we're just going to start. I'm starting back here in May on the 24th. You know, I've got a couple of them done, so I'm just going to keep doing that. And then, as far as non-audio stuff goes, I decided I'm going to make a gifting area. There's going to be no food for this. But I did find this guy. I'm going to get this off of Amazon. It's actually a wicker basket. and this is why I had this picture of my audio recorder up. So you see it's got these holes in the sides and it's got a flat back on it. What it'll let me do is let me run this bike lock through it. And I can just attach it straight to the tree, and then I can, put it however high or however low I want. But more importantly, if you look, it's a very rudimentary one, but it's got a latch on it. So you'll have to unlatch that and open it up like with hands to reach down in here. And it's kind of wide. It's almost a foot wide, but it's only 6 inches tall and about 4 inches wide, like deep. So that means you're going to have hands to reach down in there too after you unlatch it to actually get this stuff. So I'm looking right now at what I can put in there. Something else I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a chalkboard out and I'm going to draw some stuff on it and see if anything draws anything back, because I thought that was neat. I got some of these ideas from Small Town Monsters. I think it was a group in Virginia that I was watching that was doing all this. So that's really where I'm at there. And then, oh no, that's actually not where I'm at there. Something else that they did too was, you have your tree. So what they would do, if this plays, well, it's 1.8 gigs. Even better if I could have just found a picture. Well, that's okay. I got it muted. So what they would do is they would find a tree. There we go. Say see how it looks. There's like a vine behind here, but say there was like a wedge right here, like this was part of the tree. What they would do is they would put a peanut butter jar here, like this way, horizontally with the lid on. That way you'd have to unscrew the lid to get into the peanut butter. But before they put the peanut butter there, they would wrap the hell out of this tree with packing tape. They would like reverse it, so sticky sides out. That way if anything's standing there trying to get into the peanut butter and everything, there's a high chance that it's going to stick hair to it. And then you can collect that hair and we can send it in for sampling. And I do have stuff to collect hair too. I've got tweezers, I've got gloves, actually I'm not using bags like everyone does. I've got vials like we would use in the field. So I'll stick it in the vial. And then I can hopefully find somebody that I can send this to and have it sequenced if we get anything and see what it comes back. So that's going to be something too that I'm going to look at and see if we can't find prints. It's been raining a lot here lately, so I'm hoping to go up in the next couple days and just see if I can't find anything. I'm not going to hold my breath because as I've been talking to other researchers, apparently the soil in PA is just notorious for being very hard to find prints of anything. So the reason we get them of deer is because, they have the hard hooves, but like when it comes to other like animals, you got to really find like a sandy area or like a super muddy area to have a hope of getting anything. But that's basically everything but the audio this time. I'm just doing my thing and I'll put stuff out otherwise as it, comes up besides these normal updates. But yeah, that's it for this time. Thanks for the support, everybody. We're getting real close to 100 subs. That's crazy in my mind. And I guess I'll see you in the audio side. Thanks again.